Temperatures decrease, but does the haze go away? I'll let you know the forecast.
When you actively assault a police officer, it's probably not your first rodeo.
A man behind bars after a brazen attack outside of a Salt Lake City bar. What we're learning about the case in a story you'll only see on Fox 13.
Then luck was not on the side of these crooks in Taylorsville.
May have picked the wrong vehicle to try and run from the police in today.
How a carjacking ended with 2 suspects in custody and an officer in the hospital.
And an unforgettable trip is on the horizon for these Utahns who fought for our freedom.
It's just an honor to have them honor me.
The send-off to our nation's capital ahead of Veterans Day.
We begin with breaking news tonight. 2 men are dead after a shooting in West Jordan.
Police are still on scene. This happened off of Cali Drive. That's where we find Fox 13's Elle Thomas joining us live tonight with the very latest. Elle?
Yeah, hey, Brian and Kirsten, lots of investigators still on scene here, and they're likely going to have a very long night ahead of them. Nothing has been confirmed just yet, but they do believe this was likely a murder-suicide. Police received 2 separate calls of shots fired at this house just after 6 o'clock tonight. They say when they arrived, they found 2 men in the garage. One man had been shot in the head and was dead. The other, also shot in the head, was taken to the hospital in extremely critical condition. He's since passed away. Police say that man was homeless and had been staying with the family at this house. They were home when it happened, but nobody was hurt. Police say they were able to recover 1 gun and do not believe there was anyone else involved. It is still very early on. At this point, police say they have to treat it as a double homicide.
What it looks like to me is a murder-suicide. That's what it appears, but we have to treat it as a homicide scene because we weren't there to see it happen.
Police believe the 2 men were friends. They don't know the exact events that led up to shots being fired, but they do believe drugs or alcohol was involved. It could be at least 24 hours before they release either of their identities. Live in West Jordan, Elle Thomas, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Thank you, Elle. This just in. Firefighters on the scene of a house fire in Midway. Wasatch County says the house near Center Street caught fire around 8 tonight. Firefighters were able to quickly get the fire knocked down and under control. They tell us no one was home at the time. The cause is still under investigation.
Mexico is now asking the FBI to help with their investigation of the brutal attack last week that killed 3 American women and their 6 children. On Monday, the families were ambushed by what authorities said were gunmen from the drug cartels. The FBI issued a statement saying it would help in this investigation. Many residents living in Mexico's Sonora state have already left, trying to escape the violence. The last victim of the massacre was laid to rest Saturday. And tonight, in a story you'll only see here, police arrested a man accused of assaulting an officer in downtown Salt Lake City.
It happened at a sports bar that just got its liquor license back on Friday after it was revoked last month. Fox 13's Adam Herbett spoke to police about the investigation and the injured officer's health.
You know, it's Saturday night, Salt Lake City. Clubs are letting out.
Police were already in the area when they saw a fight break out just outside the Button Down Sports Bar and Club in downtown Salt Lake City. This man, 23-year-old Sergio Rodriguez, was just one of the people involved, but he was the only one arrested because officers say he started attacking them.
When you actively assault a police officer, it's probably not your first rodeo.
Police say Rodriguez, who is a convicted felon, was punching and kicking his victim in the face and then kicked an officer in the groin. Officers say they had to put him in a special type of restraint, described as a safer version of a straitjacket, to get him to calm down and sober up.
He was definitely riled up and needed that. And we only use that in extreme circumstances.
Aside from the kick to the groin, the injured officer also had some bumps and bruises and hurt his hand, but nothing serious enough to go to the hospital.
He's an experienced officer. Everything that I've read about the report, he acted correctly in this situation.
All of this comes within just a few days of Button Down getting permission from a judge to sell alcohol for the first time since its license was revoked last month. The DABC has accused the bar of not properly disclosing information about its ownership.
Just by having this in place, we've got a business still in operation, we have the state following the law.
Fox 13 reached out to Button Down's management team since the arrest, but has not gotten back a response.
There's several clubs in the area, so he could have been coming out of any one of those clubs.
Rodriguez was booked into the Salt Lake County Jail on 7 charges and is being held on $5,000 bail. Reporting in Salt Lake City, Adam Herbett, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Well, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about the weather now and the haze in the air outside, only getting a bit worse. Here's a beautiful time lapse, though, from tonight's sunset from our Oquirrh Mountain camera. How is our air quality shaping up for the week ahead?
Yeah, beautiful time lapse, but you can see all that gunk in the air.
Yeah.
Greg, any relief
Good
in
word
sight?
for that,
I
gunk.
call it the haze glaze, just that glaze on the valley floors. We don't like to see it, and it's not only impacting northern Utah, but we've seen air quality diminish just a bit across the state. I want to share a photo that came in from a viewer. This is Scott Taylor near Escalante there. Look at all that smoke coming in from the California wildfires. Plus, we have a couple of small fires burning throughout the state. Not making for a good situation, but still temperatures today quite pleasant out there. But as we look at the air quality situation, let's take a look what's going on right now, where as we look towards northern Utah, still some areas, specifically as we look up through Cache County, Salt Lake, Davis County, through Utah County, we're in that yellow moderate concern level. Nothing of worse concern there as we've not moved into that unhealthy situation, but still posing a risk. Voluntary air action, need to do our part. Try to limit our time driving the cars. If we could take mass transportation, that would be great, because this is really not going to be changing up too much. Now, as we look for the highs today, we did get up in the upper 50s in Logan, low 60s in Salt Lake City, mid 50s in Provo, so temperatures still well above normal. In some spots, almost 10 degrees above normal. We topped off in the 60s through central Utah, close to 70 degrees in St. George. As we look at the satellite radar imagery, a few clouds hanging around extreme southern Utah, pushing their way also from northern through northeastern Utah. We've got a cold front right on our doorstep, beginning to make its move towards the state. Behind that front, we are seeing some showers, some snow tracking through portions of Wyoming, heading southward as well. Now, the cold front for your Veterans Day will be bringing temperatures down. Does any of the snow or rain make its way across the state? I'll let you know coming up just a bit.
A 25-year-old man is dead after a homemade explosive device blew up on him in a garage. Deputies say this happened last night around 8 at a home on Harmony Drive in New Harmony. A witness told investigators he and the victim went to a home to care for horses. The victim invited the witness to his garage to show him the explosive device he was making. As the witness was leaving, the device detonated and killed the victim. Detectives have not found any evidence to indicate the bomb was meant for any particular target. The victim has not been publicly identified.
New at 9, take a look at this. Surveillance video obtained by Fox 13 shows the moment a carjacking suspect steals another car at a gas station in Taylorsville, all while being chased by police. Now, the police pursuit went through Salt Lake County, and it ended with 2 suspects in custody and an officer in the hospital. Unified Police say these are the suspects, 33-year-old Brock Hansen and 23-year-old Brittany Price. Officers say the pursuit started in Taylorsville when a cop spotted a stolen BMW. Well, eventually, police say the duo drove to a gas station where Hansen stole a Jaguar right here from a man who stopped for gas. But that Jaguar did not get very far.
What we learned from the owner of that Jaguar is possible that he has been having some issues with that Jaguar, and he believes that the Jaguar just wasn't going to go anymore and was bogging down.
Police say Hansen surrendered to police after the car stopped near 6200 South on Bangerter Highway. The officer who was injured was hurt while trying to take Price into custody. He was taken to the hospital as a precaution.
A woman remains in critical condition after being hit by a car in West Valley City overnight. Police say the woman was crossing against the light 2700 West, 4700 South around 11 o'clock last night when she was hit. Investigators say the victim remains in the hospital in critical condition. The driver, who did remain on scene, cooperated with authorities, has not been charged or cited at this time. 48 veterans from Utah are in Washington, D.C. tonight for the trip of a lifetime. They boarded the honor flight at the Salt Lake Airport this morning.
Fox 13's John Franke explains why this trip on Veterans Day weekend provides some recognition that has been a long time coming.
Most of these veterans fought during the Vietnam War. Back then, that war was not popular, and these veterans say they felt the backlash. Now, decades later, they're finally being treated like the heroes they are.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light?
They fought for the Stars and Stripes.
I'm overwhelmed.
They made sacrifices to defend our freedom.
We got the worst welcome you ever seen.
After so many years, these veterans of the Vietnam War
Quite the difference from when I came home. You know, they were calling us names, and it wasn't a proud time.
are finally getting a send-off.
You were ashamed you want to get your uniform off and be in civilian clothes.
Fitting for a hero.
Amazed that 50 years after the fact, people are finally recognizing what we did over there.
Governor Gary Herbert was among those wishing these vets well on their honor flight.
But you all represent the best of what America has to offer.
The two-day journey to the nation's capital will take them to monuments and memorials.
I want to go to Arlington the most, the Vietnam Wall.
A moment to remember those who didn't come home.
Well, I've got friends that are on names on the wall.
I know a couple guys on the wall.
A chance for all of us.
Bygones are bygones, years have gone by. It's just an honor to have them honor me.
To show our gratitude.
Just recognize them for what they are. There's a lot more. I mean, we keep having wars, so we keep having more veterans.
If you're a veteran or know one deserving of a spot on the honor flight, we have a link to the application on our website at fox13now.com. In the studio, John Franke, Fox 13 News, Utah.
So grateful for their service. Still to come, some residents in Cedar City, well, they're fed up with the smoky air. We're going to show you why the air quality has not been very good this weekend.
He said that he didn't believe the Holocaust ever happened, but that he wished it had.
In light of several recent attacks on Jewish places of worship, how one Utah rabbi looks after his congregation and the damage that simple acts of ignorance can cause. Coming up on 3 Questions with Bob Evans.
This is Fox 13 News.
Cedar City residents and those nearby may have been breathing in smoke this weekend. U.S. Forest Service has been working on the South Monroe Fire Project by burning around 4,000 acres in the Langdon Mountain area. After 2 days of no new ignitions, they burned about 300 acres today. Forest Service says a ridge of high pressure allowed the smoke to settle into those valleys. They've been hoping for a wind shift to clear some things out.
Right now, Centerville police officers are on their way back to Utah with a new officer joining their ranks. And look how cute. This is Sophie. She's a 2-year-old bloodhound, and tracking people's scent is her specialty. Her handler from the Northeast Houndsman in Massachusetts got sick and couldn't work with her anymore, so they decided to gift Sophie to Centerville police for free. That's instead of paying thousands of dollars for her. Officers are expected to arrive here in Utah with their new canine officer in tow by Tuesday. Tomorrow, something will happen in outer space that only takes place 13 times in a century.
The planet Mercury will make a rare pass right across the middle of the sun. It starts about 5:35 a.m. our time. Mercury will pass from one side of the sun to the other over the course of more than 5 hours.
Incredible. And just like during an eclipse, viewers need to use a solar filter since looking directly at the sun, of course, can cause permanent eye damage. NASA says it won't be seen from North America again for another 30 years or from anywhere on Earth until 2032.
Arches National Park is inviting people to check out this astronomical event tomorrow. People are invited to the Arches Visitor Center anytime between 9 and 11 o'clock in the morning.
And with tomorrow being Veterans Day, we wanted to give you a heads up about some of the free things that veterans can take advantage of.
Tomorrow, all national parks are free for veterans. Hogle Zoo will be free for soldiers, veterans, and their immediate families. The Living Planet is also offering free admissions for veterans and their immediate family members as well. The Natural History Museum offering free admission to military veterans plus one guest.
And it keeps going. Fat Cat Salt Lake City is hosting a breakfast, which is going to include bowling and a gift. Red Lobster offering a free appetizer or dessert to veterans and active duty military. Village Inn is inviting all active and retired military to enjoy a free meal. And Texas Roadhouse will hand out free lunches to veterans and active military members.
Now, a lot of those ceremonies and such tomorrow for the festivities of the holiday will be outside.
Yes. And looks like it's going to be okay for tomorrow. So this string of nice weather as far as keeping the storms away. We move it from the weekend to your work day. And we'll see how long we can keep this dry weather spell going. But as we give you another shot of a beautiful photo, we got a lot of images coming in today. Thank you for all the viewers that do send them in. We like to highlight them. Marguerite Roberts Once again, highlighting the sunsets looking across the Salt Lake Valley, where with all the smoke and the haze, it has been making for a beautiful sunrise and sunset, where the official high today in Salt Lake City, well, we made it up to 62 degrees. On average, we should be in the low 50s. Our record set back in 1973 at 69 degrees. Now, if we didn't have the haze or the inversion, we really would be close to seeing some near record-breaking temperatures. As a reminder, your sunrise tomorrow will be at 7:09. Now, currently we stand in the 40s. Salt Lake City, Ogden, Provo, upper 30s. We've got a cold front on our doorstep, threatening to make some changes to the forecast just a little bit. What will not be changing too much is the air quality. We were hoping that enough colder air would move across with a little bit of a mix-up there, allowing for an improvement on the air quality scene, but that will not be the case. Expecting to find it still a moderate concern level here, not only as we saw today, but tomorrow and probably for the first half of the week. Could see some changes, though. We'll talk about that in just a few moments. But let's reflect back over the past 7 days. Temperatures not varying too much here, as last weekend we were in the 50s, most days in the 60s. So keeping those temperatures above normal, and we'll find temperatures kind of in that range, but it's going to be a little bit cooler for the upcoming week. In addition, we once again show you where we're at on that record and that dry spell, particularly across southern Utah in the Dixie area, where we've now added on an additional day. We're counting at 146 days where we have not seen precipitation in that area. Breaking the record, of course, we smashed it and we continue to add on to it. Let's see over the next 7 days if there's a possibility of seeing any storms. Now, I mentioned a cold front on our doorstep. Just a few high clouds rolling through. That cold front in its position, now moving through southern Idaho to Wyoming, pushing through northern Utah overnight and then into eastern Utah come tomorrow. Now, from this storm, it's not too impressive. It's bringing some snow showers. Looks like in Wyoming that will track towards the state of Colorado. But as we take a little bit of a closer look, we'll see a temperature change tomorrow. Let's talk about the threat of seeing any rain or snow. Well, as we look at our computer models, moving the clock from tonight through tomorrow morning, Uinta Mountains, a chance of seeing some light snow showers. That is the only area. Most of the impact, as far as any snowfall, will be towards Colorado. So that's where we're seeing at least the precipitation possibility. For the state of Utah, though, it's going to be clear, staying dry. That's why we're saying not much of a mix-up with the air quality there. It's going to maintain that moderate concern level. We need a bigger storm to really mix things out. We're going to be looking at high pressure building back in once we move from Monday into Tuesday, which will allow temperatures to go back up. And then we might see another brief or a clip-by storm there as we look towards next weekend. But some clouds in the forecast, especially as we look towards the middle of the week. So tonight, looks like partly cloudy skies for northern Utah, clear conditions across the south. Tomorrow's highs, at least for northern Utah, slightly cooler. We're getting up into the 50s. Again, about almost 5 to 10 degrees cooler than what we saw today. Upper 40s in Park City. Central Utah also a little bit cooler. Looks like Cedar City, you'll be in the 50s. Maintaining the 70s, though, in St. George, where by the middle of the week, we see some clouds, not any rain. Cooler temperatures, though, heading into next weekend. And for northern Utah, it's 50s all this week, close to 60 degrees, so a little bit cooler, but temperatures remain above normal. We keep that haze craze going here throughout most of the week, and no big storms to talk about. Now, next weekend, cooler temperatures, but it's not until maybe 10 days out there that we see a hopeful sign of a bigger storm that could bring snow back into the forecast.
So if you didn't listen to Breck's advice last week, which was put up your Christmas lights before
do it now.
You got another week.
Yeah, you got some time. So
you're buying them some extra time.
I am buying, that's right.
You're doing a nice job with that.
Trying to deliver here.
Always do. Thanks, Breck. Still ahead tonight, a first-of-its-kind lab is coming to Utah. How investigators hope this will help them crack cold cases.
And we'll show you how some of Utah's oldest veterans were honored ahead of Veterans Day.
You're watching Fox 13 News. Let's connect.
New DNA technology could change the way cold cases are investigated. Fox 13's Lauren Steinbrecher shows us just how it could help police with unsolved cases.
The Utah Cold Case Coalition announced the first nonprofit DNA laboratory in the country will open in Salt Lake City this year.
So that those cases that don't slip through the cracks, the cold cases, the ones that have been been just really difficult and problematic for years are going to have their chance to shine and have that technology applied to it as well.
Cases like Rosie Tapia, the 6-year-old taken from an apartment in 1995, kidnapped and murdered. The Utah Cold Case Coalition came into existence when they received a call from Rosie's family wanting more information and communication.
Guys, this is needed.
Of the 100,000 unsolved homicides in the country, more than 400 of them are here in Utah. Part of the problem, the coalition says, is the cost of DNA testing.
That is something that currently is very expensive. I mean, the phenotyping and the genetic genealogy currently are well into the thousands, and we will be able to provide that part for free.
The nonprofit lab will provide free expertise and consulting, but there will be a cost associated with the DNA testing services.
My hope would be that it expands and becomes a nonprofit where everybody can support it, from donations to grants to give that resource to the public as hopefully free, but if not, as cost-effective as possible.
The opening date for the lab has not yet been announced. Utah Cold Case Coalition has a 24-hour tip line you can call if you have any information about a case. Lauren Steinbrecher, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Governor Gary Herbert is celebrating some of Utah's oldest veterans in a special ceremony at the state capitol. Fox 13's Haley Higgins introduces us to one veteran who calls Utah home.
From the Philippines to North Africa and to the beaches of Normandy to right here in Utah. With fewer than 500,000 World War II veterans remaining today, Governor Gary Herbert honored the 22 veterans home to Utah.
This is a very special occasion as we honor those that served in our military.
And they're part of an exclusive group.
The most exclusive club in Utah. It's one that President Adams and I hope we'll finally be able to join. That's called the Centenarians. You have to be 100 years of age to get there.
The centenarians were honored for their sacrifice. And for those like George Ford, age is truly just a number.
I was inducted into the service. I was married at the time and had a daughter. And so I went in on the 23rd of July, 1943.
Ford bravely answered the call, not knowing he was about to embark on the longest war the world had ever seen.
Everyone was involved in the effort that has never been happened before or since that time, really.
After 33 years of putting his life on hold for the service of others, Ford finally retired in 1976.
I've been retired now longer than I worked, you might say.
The Utah Department of Veterans and Military want families of veterans turning 100 or older to contact them. The department will send them a small token from the governor recognizing their service and age milestones. Haley Higgins, Fox 13 News, Utah.
Coming up at 9:30, who's on the wish list for Republicans for this week's impeachment inquiry hearings? We're going to take a closer look.
And a bizarre scene in New Jersey. How did that car end up crashing into that building? In national news, public hearings in the impeachment inquiry began this Wednesday.
And this weekend, Republicans released a list of the people they would like to testify. Fox's Garrett Tenney has the latest from Washington.
Republicans have identified at least 14 individuals they want to testify during the impeachment inquiry's public hearings, but only a handful are expected to be approved by Democrat Chairman Adam Schiff. Last night, Schiff informed the Intelligence Committee's top Republican Devin Nunes that the impeachment inquiry will not serve as vehicles for any member to carry out the same sham investigations into the Bidens or debunked conspiracies about 2016 U.S. election interference that President Trump pressed Ukraine to conduct for his personal political benefit. Those who likely won't be called to testify include Hunter Biden and his business partner, Devin Archer, Nellie Orr, who worked on the now infamous Trump dossier for Fusion GPS, and Alexandra Chalupa, a former Democratic National Committee staffer who allegedly met with Ukrainian officials for dirt on the Trump campaign. Democrats argue that since the impeachment inquiry is about what the president did or didn't do in relation to withholding military aid from Ukraine, Any witnesses without knowledge of that are purely a distraction.
The Republicans have requested that I would think that the chairman is going to make available to testify. Tim Morrison is one, Kurt Volker is another. We want to stay focused on the Ukraine call, and having Hunter Biden come in is unrelated to the Ukraine call. And so that becomes irrelevant. The whistleblower, again, has protection.
Schiff has already indicated that the whistleblower will not testify. That is a key point of contention for the president and his allies, including Senator Lindsey Graham, who said without the whistleblower's testimony, impeachment is dead on arrival in the Senate.
The only way you can fairly deal with this issue is for us to find out who the whistleblower is. No American can be accused of a crime based on an anonymous allegation. The whistleblower is foundational to what they're doing into the House, and the fact that they don't want to call him tells you everything they know, everything you need to know about how valid this effort is to impeach the president.
It's important to note that not every Republican lawmaker feels that way. Today, several repeated their belief that the whistleblower's identity should be protected and that their testimony wasn't that important because they didn't have firsthand information about the president's phone call. In Washington, I'm Garrett Tenney, Fox News.
And in New Jersey, 2 people are dead after their speeding Porsche slammed into a second floor of a building this morning. Police say the 2 victims were speeding when they lost control, hit a median, and went airborne across lanes of traffic and into that commercial building.
It's unfathomable. You can't imagine how a car could get in that position.
Was inside the building at the time of the crash. The identities of the 2 victims have not been released, and now police are investigating what caused this.
In Georgia, 2 people are facing charges for the death of 21-year-old college student Alexis Crawford. Police suspect her roommate and her roommate's boyfriend of killing her. Authorities recovered her body from a park outside of Atlanta less than 2 weeks after she vanished. At the center of the investigation, a police report Crawford filed on October 27th, just a few days before she disappeared.
Alexis described unwanted kissing and touching from Barron Brantley. Barron, who is the boyfriend of Jordan Jones. Jordan Jones, who is Alexis's roommate and friend.
According to the police report, Crawford received a rape kit exam and told detectives her roommate's boyfriend made unwanted sexual advances.
Still to come, from deadly attacks on Jewish places of worship to harmful ignorance and deniers of the Holocaust. Fox 13's Bob Evans asked Rabbi Sam Spector what it costs to keep his congregation safe and what we can all learn from mistakes made along the way. That's coming up on 3 Questions.
I'm Jeff Rainier. Coming up in sports, the team that knocked RSL out of the playoffs had a shot to win the MLS Cup today. And some big moments today in the NFL. Former Utah State Aggie had a shot at Lamar Jackson, turned it into the run of the day.
And he's got a touchdown.
You know, I wasn't so sure about my fantasy team this week going into Sunday. I had a lot of buys.
Yeah?
I had a lot of buys, but I got lucky.
That's good. Who was your big star?
Tyreek Hill was big for me. And then I got Melvin Gordon earlier this week. It was big.
Yeah, big day for some NFL football. 7-1 Saints, favorites at home against the 1-7 Falcons. Former BYU Cougar Taysom Hill. Nice completion to Michael Thomas that led to a first quarter field goal. But the Falcons came to play. Matt Ryan to Austin Hooper. 8-yard touchdown. Line up 10-3. Former Utah Ute Marcus Williams had a late interception for the Saints, but the Falcons stayed in front. Ryan to Brian Hill. He gets in for the score, and the Falcons pulled off the upset, beating the Saints 26-9. Reigning NFL MVP Patrick Mahomes back at quarterback for the Chiefs against the Titans. How about the jump pass there to Miracle Hardman? Speedster takes it 63 yards for the score. 29-20 Chiefs early in the fourth, but back came the Titans. Ryan Tannehill finds Adam Humphries, and he's in for the score. Put the Titans up 3 with 23 seconds to play. The Chiefs had a shot to tie it. 52-yard field goal, but blocked by Joshua Kalu. On the final play, the Titans knocked off the Chiefs 35-32. Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson had an incredible day against the Bengals. He did it all for Baltimore, threw 3 touchdown passes. This one to Mark Andrews put the Ravens up 21-3. Then Jackson had one of the best runs of the season. Spins by former Utah State and Fremont High School star Nick Vigil, who went in as the Bengals' top tackler of the season, but he couldn't get Jackson. 47-yard touchdown. What a play there. The Ravens beat the Bengals 48-13. Green Bay running back Aaron Jones had a big day for the Packers against the Panthers. 13-yard touchdown run, his third of the day. 21-10 Packers in the third. How about former BYU Cougar Jamal Williams? Rushed it 63 yards on 13 carries. This one helped set up a field goal for the Packers. The Panthers down 8 in the final seconds with the snow on the ground, but the 2-yard run did not get across the goal line for Christian McCaffrey. The Packers held on to beat the Panthers 24-16. A defensive battle between the Rams and Steelers. Snaps get by QB Mason Rudolph. Dante Fowler picks it up, goes 26 yards for the touchdown, 7-0 Rams. Their only offensive touchdown of the game came right here, and it's Rudolph to James Washington. 3-yard score, tied the score up at 7 in the first quarter. Then the Steelers defense with a big play. This is ruled a fumble. Minka Fitzpatrick picks it up, 43 yards for the touchdown. The Steelers beat the Rams 17-12. Some soccer. MLS Cup final between Toronto and Seattle. Early in the second half, the Sounders got it. An own goal to take the lead. Then they got a beauty here. Victor Rodriguez shoots and he scores. Sounders up 2-0 in the 76th minute. They added one more goal from Raul Ruidiaz in the 90th minute. Seattle went on to beat Toronto 3-1. So the team that knocked RSL out of the playoffs wins the MLS Cup. It's their second MLS Cup title in the last 4 years. NASCAR. The ISM Raceway near Phoenix. Denny Hamlin needed a big day to clinch a spot in the Championship 4, and he got it. Survived a restart with 4 laps to go to seal his first title shot since 2014. He'll join Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, and Kevin Harvick in the championship finale next Sunday in Miami. Coming up on the sports page, we'll check in with the Jazz after that big win over the Bucks on a final buzzer beater. Plus, great day for the Cougars, Aggies, and Wildcats on the football field. We'll check in with them all at 10:05.
Jazz a little streaky right now, but the Warriors, I don't know what to make of the team this year.
They're young. That's who they play next Monday night. So we'll see.
All right. Thank you, Jeff.
We'll be right back.
But before we go, I want to share a photo coming in from a viewer. This is Michael Bowman hiking up Big Cottonwood Canyon. Get a break from the haze. You can see that hazy sunset down in the valleys. Yeah, you got to move up higher to get away from the haze, but we've got a couple of cold fronts on tap for this next week. Will that bring the air to mix things out? We're going to answer that after the break. Let's get another look at your weather forecast. Give you a focus for Veterans Day come tomorrow. Have a little bit of a change here, especially across northern Utah. Mild temperatures still persisting in the Dixie area. Right now you're at 54 degrees. Clear skies expecting to find in the overnight hours to remain clear. Northern Utah, a few high clouds rolling through. I mentioned we have a cold front. Really, I should classify it as a cool front on our doorstep. It looks to be fairly dry. Still holding on to 40s though, as you can see in Salt Lake City. Winds are calm. Air quality, it's been a concern as we reflect back again over the past 7 days. We've been finding temperatures pretty persistently between the upper 50s to low 60s, but with a couple of cold fronts that we need to talk about. The first one tonight moving in. It's really not going to do too much to mix out the air. Yeah, haze sticking around as we look for the first half of the week. Let's talk about the second cold front and what that potentially could do. As we're looking at this first cool front, as I showed you earlier on, snow showers impacting Wyoming, sliding towards Colorado, potentially could maybe see some light mountain snow showers, at least for the Uinta Mountains. Nothing of great accumulation there. But we're moving towards a more cool northwesterly flow in the forecast for tomorrow, and that will drop temperatures for your afternoon highs. Now, as we look at the computer models, boy, this current cool front looks to be fairly impressive, but as it swings to the east, it really fizzles out. Will remain fairly dry. We're going to see sunny skies for your forecast for Veterans Day. Temperatures will be dropping, yes, but they'll still be above normal. Just a little bit cooler than what we've been experiencing here over the weekend. Now, high pressure off towards the west. It begins to move in, allowing for temperatures to once again warm up. We're getting back close to 60 degrees along the Wasatch Front. But as you can see over the next several days, not much activity as far as the potential for any showers as we go from Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, another storm on our doorstep. That's the one that brings in another cold front as we see some stronger, well, at least the flow out of the north bringing some colder air heading into the weekend. That could really drop temperatures down to the upper 40s, low 50s. That will help mix things out. But what begins to line up as we look ahead next weekend for the following week looks like what the models are showing as we start moving more into a storm cycle. And we'll see if that holds true. Again, that's out there, 7, 8, 9 days. Things that definitely can change, but keeping our fingers crossed because we do need the moisture to help out with the air quality situation. Here's your hour-by-hour forecast then for tonight along the Wasatch Front. We're looking at partly cloudy skies as overnight lows dipping down into the upper 30s starting off tomorrow morning. As you can see, clear skies, so weather not having much of an impact on your Monday morning commute, and it shouldn't be an impact either for the morning or afternoon commute as well. So mostly sunny skies for northern Utah. Temperatures not as warm. We're in the 50s, mid 50s in Provo, still 70s in St. George, and we're looking like temperatures in Cedar City in the upper 50s as well. Now for St. George, we've been talking about it. They're under this dry spell. Continue to add on each day. We're at 146, we go to 147, and we continue at it where they haven't had any rain. Isn't that crazy? They need the rain. They don't get it this week. Slightly cooler as we look towards next weekend now for northern Utah. It's 50s, temperatures still above normal, getting back close to 60 degrees by Thursday. Some haze. That another cool front on the weekend brings temperatures down, but again, it's lacking in moisture. Hopefully the following storm that potentially could come through next week will do a little bit more to
Any amount of rain? Any amount of rain would break that.
Measurable.
Measurable precipitation.
I listened to Breck.
Yes.
Well, how much is measurable?
Ones that you can measure. The precipitation you can measure is measurable.
Not a record they want, though.
Not a record,
No.
no. It is definitely a dry spell.
Right.
And, you know, they've seen a sprinkle, but
yes.
as far as measurable precipitation, they just haven't gotten any. It's been a long time.
But with those temperatures, it is my favorite time to
It
head
really
down
is,
to
right?
the parks. Ooh, it's awesome.
It is a good time.
No
We'll get
crowds.
another week of that type of weather.
Okay, we'll hang on to it. Thanks, Breck.
Attacks on Jewish places of worship have become regrettably common, with deadly mass shootings in Pittsburgh, San Diego, Germany, New Zealand, Copenhagen. The list goes on and on. And with the recent news of a Davis County boy dressing up like Adolf Hitler, doing the Nazi salute and harassing minority classmates, you have to wonder, why do we treat each other like that? I sat down with Rabbi Sam Spector of Congregation Kol Ami and asked him 3 questions. When those kinds of things happen, what goes on inside your heart as a Jewish man, as a rabbi who cares for other Jews? What happens inside your heart and your mind?
For me as a rabbi, and this was really evident with Pittsburgh, there isn't so much a feeling of shock as much as disappointment and sadness, because you know it's going to happen. You prepare for it. You do active shooter training. I invest so much of our synagogue's money in security, and it saddens me to drive past churches that don't have to spend tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on security, and think about what use we could be using with those funds if we weren't so hated without cause. And again, as a rabbi, when the Pittsburgh shooting occurred, I went more into a mode of how do I help my community at this time? And I didn't have really an opportunity until the very end of our vigil that attracted about 700 people at our synagogue in the days following the shooting. It was at the very end of the vigil when we had a Muslim children's youth choir singing songs for peace that I finally broke down in tears, because prior to that, I was just trying to care for my community before caring for myself. In terms of that child at the Davis School, the Davis School District, my hope is that out of that, all the parents in that school had a really important conversation with their kids, and that the teachers had important conversations with the superintendent, and that we can make that a teachable moment.
With the passage of time, the younger generation becomes more and more separated from the Holocaust, in which 6 million Jews were massacred, exterminated. A recent survey found that 22% of millennials are either unaware or unsure of what the Holocaust is. Does that concern you?
It does concern me greatly. We just saw a principal, I believe it was, in Florida be dismissed for questioning whether the Holocaust existed or didn't. And with the Colorado bombing suspect, the person who was arrested who wanted to carry out this attack.
That was foiled in Pueblo, yeah.
Exactly, the foiled attack. He said that he didn't believe the Holocaust ever happened, but that he wished it had. And so we are seeing, unfortunately, Holocaust denial being on the rise. I think that the Holocaust was an event of such tremendous magnitude and horrific proportion that it's hard for us to comprehend. I mean, here in Utah, we have roughly 3 million or so people, and to imagine twice that many people, just being Jews, being murdered for their ethnicity and for their religious faith is very hard to wrap our minds around.
Members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints feel a special kinship with the Jewish people, and that's a deep and complex doctrinal kind of issue. I'm wondering, does that go both ways? Do the Jewish people feel a kinship with the Latter-day Saints? And if so, where does that come from for Jews? Is that puzzling to the Jewish people?
Sure. I think I'll speak only for myself here. I don't want to speak for every Jewish person. I personally do. One of the things that I've been really trying to do here in Utah is to bring our communities closer together. And I'll say after the shooting in Pittsburgh, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was the first to reach out to us and also to say, how can we help? Can we send security to help you all? Oh, you have a leaking roof? Zions Bank said, let's help you with that so that your synagogue can stay standing.
Rabbi Sam Spector of Congregation Kol Ami, the largest Jewish synagogue in Utah, thank you so much for being part of 3 Questions.
Bob, thank you. It's been a pleasure.
To see Bob's full interview with Rabbi Sam Spector, including how the LDS Church saved this year's Rosh Hashanah celebration for Congregation Kol Ami, and whether Jews consider themselves God's chosen people, go to fox13now.com. You can also get the full interview in podcast form by downloading it wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Fox 13 News.
Finally, on Fox 13 today marks the 50th anniversary of Sesame Street.
I love it. The beloved educational children's program featuring Elmo, Big Bird, Kermit the Frog, the Cookie Monster, the Count, Bert, Ernie, many more classic characters. It launched on this very day in 1969.
Now you're gonna have the song stuck in your head.
So all the way home.
And let's take, hold on one second. We're going to finish this part. It was initially broadcast on 180 public televisions. Now, a half a century later, it reaches more than 150 countries and is translated into 70 languages. And now, check out this live look at the Empire State Building.
Beautiful.
It's all lit up in yellow and green tonight in honor of this special day for Sesame Street.
Dolling it up with a little green, a little yellow. Very, very nice. Hey, Breck,
Speaking of green and
last,
yellow,
yeah, I know.
our air.
A lot of yellow out there, too.
Want to look at 7-day forecast quickly? Maybe? No.
No.
Yes, there we go. 50s all this week. Of course, another special day tomorrow, Veterans Day. We want to honor all our veterans, and Mother Nature brings us some nice weather for sure.
Okay, and thanks for watching Fox 13 News at 9.
Quickcast is coming up. Don't go anywhere because Sports Page is still ahead.